In 1937, a widow living on the edge of a small farming village faced a problem that seemed impossible to solve. She had no tractor, no hired workers, no large fields stretching toward the horizon. In fact, the entire piece of land she controlled was smaller than many modern suburban backyards, just 1/10 of an acre. By every conventional measure, she should have failed. Agricultural experts of the time believed that meaningful farm income required scale. More land meant more production. More production meant more profit. It sounded logical. It still sounds logical today. But what happened on that tiny piece of ground challenged an assumption that has survived for generations. Instead of trying to farm like everyone else, she organized the land differently. Every square foot was assigned a purpose. Every output became an input for something else. Nothing sat idle. Nothing was wasted. And over time, that tiny plot of ground began producing something most people would never expect from such a small space: reliable income. Not once a year, not only during harvest season, but continuously. Decade after decade, similar systems quietly appeared around the world. Some were operated by families, some by retirees, some by people who had almost no farming experience at all. What made them remarkable was not the amount of land they owned, it was how much value they extracted from every inch of it. Today, many people assume that earning serious money from agriculture requires dozens of acres, expensive machinery, and constant expansion. But what if the opposite is true? What if a carefully designed 1/10 acre system could outperform properties 10 times its size when measured by income per square foot? That sounds impossible. Yet hidden inside forgotten farming methods, old homestead records, and modern intensive growing systems is a blueprint that suggests exactly that. A blueprint built around stacked production, layered income streams, continuous harvest cycles, and biological systems that become more productive over time instead of wearing out. In this video, we're going to break that blueprint apart piece by piece. You'll see how a tiny 1/10 acre property can be organized into multiple production layers. You'll discover why some of the smallest farms ever recorded generated surprisingly high returns. And you'll learn how a carefully structured system can create several different streams of income from the same piece of land without requiring endless expansion. Because the real question isn't how much land you own. The real question is how intelligently that land is designed. And once you understand the answer, 1/10 of an acre may never look small again. Long before industrial agriculture transformed the countryside, rural families faced a very different reality. They could not depend on massive machinery. They could not order truckloads of feed, and they certainly could not afford to waste land. Every square foot had to justify its existence. This pressure created a style of farming that modern agriculture rarely talks about today, not because it failed, but because it became invisible. Across parts of Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas, countless households operated highly compact production systems designed around one principle: maximum output from minimum space. Researchers studying historical homesteads often noticed something unusual. The families with the smallest properties were frequently the most creative. A large landowner could leave acres unused and still survive. A family working a tiny plot had no such luxury. Every corner needed a purpose. Every resource needed a destination, and every living thing had to contribute to the larger system. Instead of treating animals as isolated enterprises, traditional households treated them as connected components. A chicken was not simply an egg producer. It was also a pest controller, a waste recycler, a soil builder, and a source of regular trade goods. Rabbits served a different role. They converted fast-growing vegetation into valuable products while occupying very little space.
Their manure could often be used with minimal processing, creating additional fertility for nearby growing areas. Small dairy animals added another layer. They transformed grasses, weeds, and vegetation that humans could not eat into products families could consume, trade, or sell. Nothing operated alone. Everything was connected. The genius of these systems was not found in any single animal. It was found in the relationships between them.
Kitchen scraps became feed. Feed became production. Production created manure. Manure improved soil. Better soil increased plant growth. Plant growth generated more feed. And the cycle repeated again and again. To an outsider, it looked simple. But underneath the surface, an invisible economic engine was operating, one that extracted value from resources most people ignored. Then something changed. As the 20th century advanced, agriculture entered an age of specialization. Fields became larger, operations became more uniform, machinery became more important. Efficiency was increasingly measured by volume. The goal shifted from maximizing output per square foot to maximizing output per worker. For industrial systems, this made sense. Large equipment worked best in large spaces. Processing facilities preferred standardized products. Distribution networks rewarded scale. But many of the small, integrated systems that had quietly sustained families for generations no longer fit the new model. Gradually, they disappeared from public attention, not because they stopped working, not because they became unprofitable, but because they were overshadowed by a different vision of agriculture, a vision built around expansion. Yet something interesting happened. Whenever economic conditions became difficult, whenever families sought greater self-reliance, whenever people wanted to earn more from limited land, the same forgotten ideas kept resurfacing, again and again, because the underlying mathematics never changed. A square foot of land can only produce so much, but when multiple systems operate together, that same square foot can create several layers of value at the same time. And that realization leads directly to the central question of this video. If traditional families could build productive systems on tiny plots decades ago, what would happen if we applied those principles intentionally on a modern 1/10 acre property? How much could one carefully designed system actually produce? To answer that, we need to begin with the foundation, the species that acts as the engine of the entire operation. Because every successful small-acre income system starts with one critical layer.
Every high-performing small-acre system begins with a difficult question. If space is limited, what should come first? Most beginners immediately think about profit. They search for the highest value animal, the fastest growing breed, the most expensive product. But experienced homesteaders learned long ago that the first animal should not be chosen based solely on profit. It should be chosen based on what it does for the entire system. Because on a 1/10 acre property, the greatest challenge is not production, it is coordination. The land is small, resources are limited, mistakes become visible quickly. And that is why so many successful micro-farm systems begin with the same foundation: chickens. At first glance, this seems almost disappointing. Chickens are common, they're familiar, they do not sound revolutionary. Yet that simplicity hides an extraordinary advantage. Unlike many farm animals, chickens create movement throughout the entire system. They consume scraps that would otherwise become waste. They search for insects that damage crops. They scratch through organic matter and accelerate decomposition. They transform low-value inputs into products people use every day. And perhaps most importantly, they operate on a daily production schedule. This matters more than most people realize. Many agricultural enterprises require long waiting periods. You plant, you wait, you invest time and resources. Then, eventually, you harvest. Chickens work differently. Every morning represents a new production opportunity. Every day creates the possibility of output. That rhythm changes the economics of a small property. Instead of relying entirely on distant future returns, the system begins generating value almost immediately. But the real power of chickens extends far beyond eggs. Imagine two identical 1/10 acre properties. One contains only growing beds. The other includes a carefully managed flock integrated into the landscape. Over time, the second property begins accumulating advantages. Organic materials disappear more efficiently. Pest populations become easier to manage. Nutrients cycle through the system more rapidly. Labor requirements decrease in certain areas. The chickens are not merely producing products, they are performing work, and that work creates value. This is where many people misunderstand small-scale farming. They focus on what an animal produces. Experts often focus on what an animal replaces. If chickens reduce pest pressure, that has value. If chickens process waste materials, that has value. If chickens contribute fertility, that has value. The economic contribution extends beyond the products you can hold in your hand. It includes the tasks you no longer need to perform yourself. This is why chickens frequently become the anchor species. They provide stability. They establish biological activity. They create daily production, and they prepare the land for additional layers that will be added later. Because a 1/10 acre income system cannot rely on a single stream of production. One stream creates income. Multiple streams create resilience. And once the chicken layer is functioning correctly, the property becomes ready for the next stage. The stage where one income source becomes several, where unused space begins generating additional value, and where the earning potential of the land starts expanding far beyond what chickens alone can provide. That is where the second layer enters the picture. The species designed not to replace the foundation, but to multiply its impact. Once the chicken layer is operating smoothly, something important becomes visible. The property begins producing resources that are not being fully utilized. Extra vegetation grows between cycles. Certain areas accumulate biomass faster than chickens can process it. Some feed resources remain untouched. And hidden inside those unused resources is untapped income. This is where most small property owners make a mistake. They try to expand the chicken operation. More birds, more feed, more infrastructure, more management. But experienced micro-farm designers often follow a different path. Instead of increasing one production stream, they add a second stream that can use what already exists. This creates leverage. And on a 1/10 acre property, leverage is often more valuable than expansion. That is where rabbits enter the system. For decades, rabbits have been one of the most overlooked animals in small-scale agriculture. They require relatively little space, they reproduce rapidly, they convert vegetation into marketable products efficiently. And unlike larger livestock, they can fit comfortably into highly intensive land use systems. But their greatest advantage is not speed, it is compatibility. Rabbits can utilize many plant materials that would otherwise have limited value. Leaves, trimmings, selected forage crops, fast-growing greens. Materials that might be discarded elsewhere become productive assets. This creates a new production cycle without dramatically increasing land requirements. Suddenly, the same square footage is generating additional output. The land itself has not expanded. Once the chicken layer is operating smoothly, something important becomes visible. The property begins producing resources that are not being fully utilized. Extra vegetation grows between cycles. Certain areas accumulate biomass faster than chickens can process it. Some feed resources remain untouched, and hidden inside those unused resources is untapped income.
This is where most small property owners make a mistake. They try to expand the chicken operation. More birds, more feed, more infrastructure, more management. But experienced micro-farm designers often follow a different path. Instead of increasing one production stream, they add a second stream that can use what already exists. This creates leverage. And on a 1/10 acre property, leverage is often more valuable than expansion. That is where rabbits enter the system. For decades, rabbits have been one of the most overlooked animals in small-scale agriculture. They require relatively little space. They reproduce rapidly. They convert vegetation into marketable products efficiently. And unlike larger livestock, they can fit comfortably into highly intensive land use systems. But their greatest advantage is not speed, it is compatibility. Rabbits can utilize many plant materials that would otherwise have limited value. Leaves, trimmings, selected forage crops, fast-growing greens. Materials that might be discarded elsewhere become productive assets. This creates a new production cycle without dramatically increasing land requirements. Suddenly, the same square footage is generating additional output. The land itself has not expanded.